Bang! We are back again for another UFC breakdown. This time we're going to be speaking about UFC Vegas 80. I don't know how many of these things they've done. I think we're on UFC Vegas 80, the 80th event inside. It's meant to be the UFC Apex, but a lot of these UFC Vegas events, I think a couple of them wasn't even inside the Apex. So, I don't know what they're doing these days, but it's the 80th event, UFC Vegas 80. It's Grant Dawson versus Bobby Green. Should be a good fight. We've got a pure grappler versus a pure striker, basically. So oftentimes those fights end up not boring, because one guy is going to dominate with his skill set and one guy has a massive advantage over the other guy. And I do think that's going to happen in this fight, but we'll get to it. I'm going to do a full card breakdown. I know it's quite late around the world at the moment, so sorry if anybody isn't watching this live, but you can always watch the replay on YouTube. I'm going to bring up the full card right now on my phone, UFC Vegas 80 Tapology. And we're just going to start from the first fight of the night, and we're going to get it going. Hopefully we can make some money. We've been on a mad run, man. We've been on a mad run so far. This whole year's been insane. I've won over 160 units so far in this year. I did a post earlier on Twitter. If anybody has been with me for 2023, they're caking it. They're earning a lot of money. They're loving the game right now. And if you haven't joined me, I suggest you do. LucrativeMMABetting.com. I give out my picks, my full picks every single week on there. And if you join, you're making a lot of money, man. So let me get this tweet up because this was an epic tweet. Yeah, so I've posted, and we just won another event today as well, LFA. But I posted the last 20 events on BetMMA.tips. We've won 16 events, and we've lost only 4. We've risked 302 units, and we've won 93.4 units with a 30% ROI. That's 93 units profit over the last 41 days alone with a 30% ROI. 160 units on the year, 470 units in less than 4 years I've won. And by the way, all with tipping not openers, not stale lines like every other motherfucker does to pad their record. We tip lines that are widely available, and we still got 470 units, man. So, I could go on for about half an hour about a sales pitch. For a measly price, you can get all of my picks. If you're doing it already, then you're already paying for the picks times 100. And if you're not, whatever, I give my free stuff out here every single week. So if you just want the free stuff, welcome aboard. At the moment, I've been traveling a lot this week and last week, so I didn't do a stream last week. Sorry about that. I've been traveling this week as well, so it's been a little bit tough to get content out. As you can see, I'm not in my regular spot. Up in the Gold Coast of Australia right now, but I'm still coming here for the people. I've literally been on the road for the last 2 hours, but I'm still here for the people, man. So yeah, I'm just getting the whole card up now, and we've got it up. And I'm going to bring in a guest as well, man. I'm going to bring in a guest. Someone's saying I'm lagging. That's why I don't like doing these streams, because I'm traveling. I'm here, there, and everywhere. And sometimes my Wi-Fi is not that good, depending on where I am. Right now, I'm using a hotel Wi-Fi. So, yeah, man, I'm sorry if I'm lagging. I'm just going to keep going through. If it's really bad, I'm going to have to cut it off. It is what it is, man. Clay Thompson saying the best in the business. Donald Rooney, what's up? Lucrative MMA Betting himself saying just setting up. Jewish Better, my man. And by the way, let me not hold you. I've got the man himself, the Jewish Better, teaming up with the man himself, Lucrative, to make another Jucrative banger. So, without further ado, I ain't even going to hold anyone. This is a surprise guest right now. My man, TJB, the Jewish Better, the late night tape grinder. What's going on, brother?
I love it, man. Another Jucrative banger. We got a nice, sharp British fellow, and here comes this American Jew douchebag to come in here and just ruin it all for him. Nah, I'm just messing around. I'm happy to be here, as you can see. Feeling good. Got a lot of tape study done over these last 2 weeks. I really like these, breaks in between because it kind of gives us a time to reset. We get to watch the film, come back, see what we like, and I'm excited, bro. Let's get this money.
Yeah, bro.
Once again.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being here, first of all. And I wish I could reset, but you know me, man. I love the LFA. Someone saying the LFA picks went hard today. I don't know. So yeah, blunt force. So we won on the LFA. Plus 210 underdog, lost to 29-28. You know that was close. And then we cashed the plus 170 underdog. Man them on Twitter moaning about it was a robbery. We don't care about no robberies when we're betting a plus 170. You already know that. So yeah, man. Shalom. Michael's saying shalom to you. So, yeah, man. Shout out to everyone here. I can't get it to everyone. You already know I'm hitting the theme parks on the Gold Coast. And you already know I'm going to be doing vlogging in them theme parks. Your boy's becoming a vlogger now. So don't worry. In a few days, I'm going to be out with some vlog content. If anybody wants to follow my channel, Gambler JB on YouTube, I'm going to be uploading tons of content on there to show you the way I live, what my lifestyle, how my lifestyle is funded by gambling. So, yeah, man, without further ado, I'm going to stop waffling. I'm going to get straight into what the people have come here for, which is the full card breakdown. You know, I said to TJB before that I was going to do this short because, first of all, I wanted to address the stream. I wanted to do an introduction. I wanted to shout out all the money we've won over the last few weeks because I haven't spoke to my people on the YouTube in 2 weeks. But after that, I want to do this full card breakdown really quickly. And the reason for that is because I have to shoot out. I got to go out for dinner. I'm starving. I haven't been here long. I've been on the road. I checked into my hotel, and there's some lovely restaurants around here. So I'm going to go out quite soon. So we're not going to be too long, me and TJB, but we're going to try and give you these concise breakdowns quite fast. So I'll start off by speaking about the Montella De La Rosa versus JJ Aldridge fight. I think this is a close fight, man. At the end of the day, you know, people can make massive analysis on either fighter. You know, De La Rosa's going to get the takedowns. JJ Aldridge is very good at stuffing takedowns. She's got a great jab. De La Rosa doesn't do well when she's stuck on the feet. You can go back and forth for days, man. At the end of the day, I think this fight is going to be close. I don't really see a world in which this fight isn't close. Obviously, someone could get a finish. I don't think Montella De La Rosa getting a finish is out of the realm of possibility. But up until that finish, it's probably going to be close, right? So for me, in a close fight, which is lined closely, let's just move on, man. Let's just look at another fight. It's all good. I don't need to get cute. I lean Montana De La Rosa. The reason is because I've seen JJ Aldridge kind of flake a few times. Now, look, it's against Barber. It's against Erin Blanchfield, some of the best girls in the entire world. But I have seen her flake a few times nonetheless. And I do think a physical girl can make her flake. You know, Blanchfield, very physical. At least her pressure is physical, and so is Barber. Montella De La Rosa is also physical, but I think it's a 29-28 either way. I'm going with De La Rosa. What do you think, TJB?
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel, 29-28, and I feel like there's two sides of like the, you know, viewpoint this week. I don't feel like anybody I've really heard say like JJ is going to blow her out of the water. I feel like people, you know, either think this is going to be a really close fight or it's going to be a Montella De La Rosa win. You know, The line, I believe, moved a little bit toward De La Rosa. I'm totally with you. I think this is a 29-28 either way. Give me just because I have to make a pick for the show or whatever. I know some people say that. I don't do that because I'm not betting on it. But I'll say JJ Aldrich by decision. Let's just go with that.
Yeah, man. Like if you don't want to give a pick, don't give a pick, man. When everyone says that, it kind of gets on my nerves. Like, you know what? It's funny because it gets on my nerves, but I still do it. I just feel obligated. I don't know what it is. I feel obligated to give a pick because people message me saying, hey, I watched your 1 hour and 30-minute stream for this one fight. You didn't give a pick. Can you tell me who wins? Brother, I've broke the fight down for like 20 minutes, man. Just go on that. I don't know the exact pick. Sometimes I just don't really know. Sometimes it's a 50-50 fight. Sometimes I don't have a good read, but if you don't want to give a full pick, don't. But yeah, man, I guess we're going against each other. But in reality, we're basically having the same breakdown there. So the next fight is Johnny Munos Jr. versus Arichi Lang. Good fight, man. Good fight. I think both fighters have a massive advantage in their respective skill sets. I think Arichi Lang has a massive advantage on the feet. I think that Johnny has a massive advantage on the ground. The issue with Johnny is that he struggles to get it to the ground quite a lot. But if he manages to solidify 10 seconds of top time, I think he can go to work on Arichi Lang. I really do, you know. I think his jiu-jitsu is legit. I just think we haven't really seen it that much because he doesn't get on top a lot because his wrestling isn't that great. there's just something about him that he lacks. I think it may be physicality. I think it may be technique in the wrestling. But when he gets it to the ground, he's definitely a beast. I tend to think that Aoriqileng just cracks him. I tend to think that Aoriqileng at some point hurts him to the body. He seems flaky to me. Johnny Munos Jr. seems flaky. I was very surprised he was able to last until decision against Daniel Santos. But that's because the guy was pulling guard for 15 minutes and just literally looking for a way to survive. Anything to not get finished in that fight, he did. But I don't think it's going to be as easy as this fight because I don't think Aoriqileng's going to just stay in top position. If Aoriqileng gets on top of him, I think he's going to hammer him hard. And I also think he would let him back to his feet. Daniel Santos was happy to stay in guard. I think Aoriqileng, he did let him back to his feet a few times, but I just think Aoriqileng's going to finish this guy on the feet. If he doesn't, I think he's going to get finished. The under is basically even money. I like the under 2.5 at even money. I really do. I'm going to pick Aoriqileng knockout, though. What about you, bro?
So you kind of nailed the point I would have made as well. Under 2.5 was the original bet. Probably still the bet I'd be looking at on this fight. I do lean on the Aoriqileng with the striking a little bit more because I don't trust the wrestling of Johnny Munoz to get this fight to the ground. And the thing with the wrestling is he doesn't have the striking, I believe, really, to set up those takedowns. And then he doesn't really have the wrestling technique to get it to the ground. But I do agree with what you said. I think he's live for a sub here. So that adds on to the under 2.5. I think, Aoriqileng could crack him. We did just see Aoriqileng get finished also by Ayman Zahabi, which is possible. This fight isn't at 125 either. If I'm not mistaken, Aoriqileng has come up in weight. So this is at 135.
Johnny's still at 135, yeah.
So if I'm being right here, I think that's a little bit higher of a finish rate when we were talking about weight class, flyweight compared to bantamweight. So under 2.5 a sharp play. My only worry for a guy like Munoz is this guy could just pull guard. He gets rocked. He could just sit on his butt, bro. And we just saw him do something similar. Then again, he also got knocked out by Tony Gravely. So we could see that as well. He leans in, gets uppercut, and it could be night-night. So I don't mind your play at all. But the reason I'm passing on it is because I just think Munoz, does things to survive that I could just see being really frustrating in that spot, but might get to the window on the under 2.5 as well.
Yeah, definitely could be a frustrating one like the Daniel Santos fight. I bet Daniel Santos to win in round 2 and round 3 there, and that was extremely frustrating. I feel like the read was fine. I feel like the bets were fine. It's just on that iteration, the way Johnny wanted to play it. I think Johnny coming off that knockout against Gravely when he fought that fight. I think he might have been.
No, because then he fought Ludovic Shalin or Klein.
Oh, yeah. He just jabbed his face off. He just jabbed his face off for 5 rounds. He kind of played it a little bit safe in that Shalin fight, to be honest. He was like jabbing his face off, and then he arguably played it safe again against Daniel Santos. So, yeah, I don't know, man. It definitely could be a frustrating one, but like you said, it's up at bantamweight. I think Aoriqileng's last few fights were at bantamweight as well, but obviously he fought a couple of times at flyweight. I remember him fighting Cody Durden, which was a close fight, to be honest. So I definitely think Aoriqileng is the side, and I also think that the under's the side. So for me, it's Aoriqileng knockout, but we'll see. Next fight is Morata versus Demopoulos. This is a weird fight, man. Morata is a massive favorite. I kind of agree that she should be a massive favorite. I don't really see what Demopoulos brings to the table that Morata can't deal with. She went toe-to-toe with Virna Jandiroba for a while, and she looked fine in that spot. It got into some grappling transitions as well, and she looked okay. And then, obviously, her arm got broken, right? So I guess you could say she didn't look okay. But Jandiroba is very, very high level on the ground, and she still fought on after that. I'm pretty sure I bet Jandiroba sub in that fight, and that was insane because basically the submission ended the fight, but it didn't get awarded a submission, right? Because she carried on fighting. So it's just a weird spot. That's what we call MMA variance, But I think in this spot, Morata has all the tools she needs to win. Also, Demopoulos is getting on, man. Demopoulos is kind of an old girl at this point, where Morata's young in her prime. I know she's had a while out of the octagon, but Demopoulos needs like an armbar from guard or something. I don't really see how she's going to win this fight. Maybe it's just like women's MMA, some madness. But yeah, man, I think Morata's going to win this fight kind of easily, to be honest. But I do think both girls are tough enough to survive each other. And I think Demopoulos is going to survive. So I think Morata decision is the play. 30-27. Do you have any hot takes for this one, or is it like home and dry?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit, because you just said it. Armbar from guard, man. And that's how the women's underdog, or the women's minus 300 something favorite loses the fight. We've seen her in the spot too, versus Randa Marcos. Seen her in the spot. Albeit, yeah, she did get out of those spots. Vanessa's got a good armbar, bro. Let's just take it for what it is. I don't like to depend on these low-level jiu-jitsu moves from the guard. They're low percentage moves. Like, this is something we already know off the top. But 95% of the handle on Morata, 2-year layoff, are just things that I think. But skill for skill, when I look at film, I think she's the quicker fighter on the feet. And she's probably got a grappling advantage on top. And she should be able to get there pretty good, because Vanessa likes to depend on her jiu-jitsu. She's old, and she doesn't have great cardio either. So I'm with you that Morata should be the favorite, but I don't need to. Yeah, man, I could take one out if you want me to. If it's cool with Lucrative, that's fine. And the beard is gone. I had to get a haircut, bro. It was getting too crazy. I was getting Jewish gelt just stuck all up in there.
Bro, that was your thing, man. The big beard, the 3 a.m. tape study. You're a different man now, bro.
It'll be back in 2 weeks. My beard grows fast. I got good Jewish genetics.
I need some of your genetics, bro. My thing takes ages, but
Jewish better beard oil.
Here or there.
Jewish better beard oil coming soon.
Yeah, bro. We'll do a little affiliate deal or something. I'm sure we get some sales. So the next fight is Nate Maness versus Matheus Mendonca. Bro, I've gone back and forth with betting Maness or not, but I'm not going to do it. I've seen him on the scales. He doesn't look good on the scales. That photo, he doesn't look too clever. I've seen him get finished in his last fight, whereas he was traditionally a tough guy. And I believe that was that down at flyweight as well. So he's fighting at flyweight again. Obviously, the fight before that was Umar. He kind of just was in guard for the whole time. Fight before that, he almost got finished. He got finished in the first round, and somehow the fight went on, and he managed to finish Tony Gravely. Shout out to Nate Maness, because I had a plus 180 bet on him in that spot. And boy, were the people mad at me. Boy, were the people mad at me that Maness survived that first round knockout and came back and got the second round knockout. That was a terrible bet. Oh my God, you got so lucky. The worst gambler of all time. Brother, I bet a plus 180 that got a second round knockout. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that there wasn't 10 seconds more left in that first round, but that's neither here or there. In this spot, it's a completely different matchup. Down at 125 is a tough spot to make any bets on, because not only is Maness down at 125 for the second, third time in his career, but also Mendonca is. Mendonca's down at 125, and I like Mendonca. He's a good fighter. I bet on him in his last fight at plus 300 against Javid Bashrat, and he lost that fight clearly, but obviously that shows you that I'm a fan of him if I'm betting him against someone as good as Javid Bashrat, and obviously plus 300 is enticing. But I also bet on him because I thought he had a chance to win the fight, not just because it was plus 300. So I like both fighters. I've bet on both of them before. I don't know who's going to win this fight. I think Mendonca might be round one or bust, because I don't know how his gas tank's going to be down at 125. His gas tank isn't great up at 135. Now the boy's moving down to 125. It might even be worse. We don't really know. It could be the fact that if he doesn't get a first round knockout, the guy's toast and he loses 29-28 or even gets finished. But it's a lot of variables. I tend to think that Nate Maness gets finished twice in both fights at flyweight. I tend to think that Matheus Mendonca gets a first round knockout. Matheus Mendonca finds the donk. I tend to think that. But money line side, Nate Maness. Plus 200 on Nate Maness is not a bad fight, not a bad spot. I don't know, man. I'm still kind of half going back and forth. I played a very, very tiny amount of money on Maness decision at plus 550. This is not a tracked bet. This is in my fun bankroll. I have multiple bankrolls. I have my main bankroll. I have my big bet bankroll where I'm laying 20K, 30, 40K bombs. And then I also have my minuscule bankroll where I'm doing $200 on a plus 700. And I took a little bit of Maness decision plus 550. I think I put $250 on him. just because I think it's a little bit of a wide line. But I'm going to predict Mendonca round 1 KO, but I actually like Maness if you're going to have a bet overall. Jewish better? What do you think, bro?
Crazy, because I feel like for the first few fights, it's kind of the I kind of been agreeing with you. I'm sure we'll disagree on some, but that's the same thing I thought. I looked right away and I said, how could I play Maness as underdog here? Then I went back to watch some of the film. I watched some of Mendonca, and to that point, I've seen that he's fighting at 125 for the first time, right? And he slowed down a little bit in the Basharov fight, but I think it's due to the fact that he throws a lot of big strikes. It's not really anything that's just getting set up. It's all really big strikes that are fight finishers, and those tend to drain the cardio out of you, especially when you're missing. And I watched his name in Essen. He's just not that guy. I just don't think I don't think he's the type of fighter that I want to bet on. He's 50-50. He didn't do good at his flyweight debut, and now he's back at the weight class. I watched the weigh-ins, and it seemed fine for both fighters, in my humble opinion. I got to go with Mendonca here as the favorite, but I wouldn't be shocked if Maness pulls an upset. I don't want anything to do with this fight. I could see the cardio coming to bite you if you're betting Mendonca. So be careful betting a huge juice favor. I 100% agree with you there. And I feel like, a lot of people are thinking about this one. They're kind of just laying the juice on Mendonca at minus 260, having no clue what he looks like at this flyweight weight class with questionable cardio issues and maybe not the best fight IQ either, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'll be on a pass for this one. Maness, dog or pass. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and completely unproven. Mendonca's unproven at the end of the day, man. Like, say what you want about what you think of his skill set.
Nobody.
The guy he fought one guy and he got beat 30-27, 29-28. I mean, he easily, like, Basharat easily beat him, right? After round 1, it was kind of easy. I bet on him there, but the line was probably accurate. He probably was plus 300 there. You know what I mean? He was round 1 or bust. So you can't really be laying juice on the dude, but whatever. If people want to do it, they can learn the hard way. The next fight, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, Diana Belbita. Maybe this is my hot take of the week. I bet Diana Belbita at plus 160 about a week ago. Now she's plus 120 or something like that. I think that the line movement is correct. I think that the line movement is sharp. And I think this fight should be a pick'em, if not Belbita favorite. Look, skill for skill, Karolina is the fighter. Skill for skill, Karolina is the fighter. But let me tell you something now. A massive portion of my money that I've made betting on MMA is because the market looks at skill for skill while ignoring the intangibles. A lot of the time. You see this a lot of the time. And this is a jewel right here. If you can cap this into your own capping, instantly you're going to be better than 20. Your capping is going to boost up 20%. You're going to be better than a lot of other cappers if you just use this one thing. Don't always go on skill for skill. Go on intangibles as well and statistics as well, not just on the stylistic skill set. So I think Karolina's maybe a bit of a better striker. Maybe she's got wrestling upside, grappling upside, but I think Belbita hits a lot harder. A lot harder. I think she's got good power for the weight class. I also think that Karolina Kowalkiewicz has a magnet on her forehead for 4-ounce gloves. And that combined with Belbita's punching power, she's going to get knocked down in this fight. She could even get finished in this fight. I do think that she takes heavy punishment in this fight. I think she gets clipped. Look, if she takes the punches, whatever. Sometimes fighters come out and they've got a great chin. Sometimes fighters come out and they get dropped with one punch. Sometimes it's hard to predict fighters if they're going to be able to take damage or not. But I do think she's going to be hurt in this fight. I do think that Belbita is going to land some punches. Another thing I'll say is that Karolina is ancient, right? This is another thing that you can't really tell when you talk about their skill set. She's ancient, right? She's 37 years old, where Belbita is in her prime at this time. I think that Karolina Kowalkiewicz has had some good matchups recently. She's potentially overperformed in some of those matchups recently. She was minus 200 when I faded this girl, man. She should not be minus 200 in this spot. On top of that, like my man Lou, Uncle Lou, she's saying that she's got a big reach and age advantage. Like I said, the age, but she's got a big reach advantage. She's got a reach advantage and a height advantage. So all of that. All right, so I'm talking about fighter Lou. Sorry, my man, Uncle Lou. Lou's in his prime. Lou hasn't even entered his prime yet. So I'm not talking about Lou's not ancient, but for a woman in the MMA game, she's kind of ancient, So I think there's many intangibles on the side of Diana Belbita. So I like her at plus 160. Obviously, she could get out volumed. Obviously, she could get grappled a little bit. I understand it's a big step up for her in terms of who she's ever beat before. But I just feel like the stylistics and the intangibles favor Diana Belbita heavily. And I think this fight should be a pick'em or Belbita minus 130, minus 140. So I played it pretty big at plus 160. And I still think there's meat on the bone at plus 120 because I think this fight should be, minus 120 favorite or something. So, yeah, that's my breakdown of the fight. What do you think, bro?
Yeah, I think the people betting on Carolina do take it skill for skill, but here's the thing. And I was originally going to bet Carolina in the spot. I put a small wager, like nothing that's even close to a unit size for me on her, just earlier in the week because I just wanted to get some money down. I had a little bit extra on my account, so.
I don't know if this is my stream or this is the Jewish better, but it seems to have disappeared.
My bad. My connection just disconnected for a second. It's back, right? You can hear me?
You're back. You're back.
Oh, shit. My bad. Sorry about that, man. No, but generally, I really wanted to bet Carolina, but I just think she would have to use the grappling. I think, Belbita is actually at a pretty decent gym in Canada. I know people don't really rate it that high compared to some of the others, but I think, she could be working on that takedown defense. And Carolina only 0.3 takedowns, 37 years old. And I know a lot of people make fun of like Gianni, the Greek, right? But he said something like, when in doubt, look out. And you really got to do that with Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Are you going to bet somebody when they're at their like highest peak 3-win streak, right? When they lost 5 fights before that, albeit to a little bit higher level competition, but this girl was getting finished, by I believe Jessica Penne, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
3 wins versus lower level competition. I don't necessarily believe in it. So this is going to be a dog or pass for me at the end of the day. But I already put a little money on Karolina Kowalkiewicz. So at this point, I'm probably just going to pass or take them over.
And she was like even money in those fights. And now she's minus 200 favorite. Now I understand the money's coming on her. Look, if like I understand playing Carolina a little bit more now at minus 130s, you're talking like even money spots and that. But at minus 200, when she's just been like even money against these worst girls stylistically, in my opinion, who was she fought? Silvana Gomez Juarez. Like these girls are not as good but that girl's 40 herself. They're not as good as Belbita, but she was like even money against them, or 150 or wherever she was, and now she's 200 against the girl who's in her prime, getting better. I don't see it myself, man, but KK on that vitamin program, probably. Big Bird, shout out for the $2 donation, my man.
So the last thing, and I know we got to make this quick, but what do you think about the grappling of? Because I hear a lot of people saying that. What do you think about the grappling upside of Carolina?
She don't shoot a lot, man. She don't shoot a lot. I know we've seen a little bit grappling lately, but she don't shoot often. Also, Belbita. I don't really see this fight. I see this fight being a striking fight. Like from what I've seen on tape, from the amount of times that Carolina shoots, from the amount of times that Belbita finds herself on the bottom in general, I don't see this fight being a grappling fight. I don't see the grappling upside being there really. So yeah. Alfred Walker would smash them, man. Alfred Walker would smash them both. You know that freight train. That's like a freight train hitting a sponge. Shout out to Alfred Walker, my man. Plus 170. Cashed us that LFA ticket earlier. Pretty sure Big Bird, my man, got on at like plus 1,700 or something crazy like that. It was about plus 375, I think he said. So yeah, man. LFA paid us well today. It's paying the bills. It's paying for this presidential suite. So shout out to Alfred Walker, man. I should throw him a chunk of change. So yeah, moving on. Felipe Lins versus Ion Cutelaba. Main event. This is a main event of the evening. I'm not going to go too in depth on this one. I was going back and forth all week. It means I don't have a good read. If I'm going back and forth all week, it means I don't have a good read. Ion Cutelaba wins the fight. I'm going to predict him to win, but I'm honestly not going to break it down because I've been going back and forth and I don't trust my read. So sometimes when you don't trust your read, just pass on the fight. I was going to bet Lins, then I was going to bet Cutelaba, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? How am I flip-flopping back and forth? That's not a good sign. So I'm going to pass this one on to the Jewish bettor. I know you have more of a read on this one than me because we spoke about it a little bit. So please tell me what I don't know about this fight.
No. So I thought I did. Then I went back and I do a little more film. I always do a little bit more film as the week goes on, and that's when I start to really make my reads. And I have my process with that. So originally I thought this was maybe a 6 out of 10 chance for Cutelaba. So in that case, if you had it at -110, it would have been a good move. But then I really went back and looked, and I think it's more of a 50-50 fight, man. I think there's a world where Cutelaba starches him maybe in one round. And then there's a world where I see, Lynn's either getting a finish or a decision. I think, a lot of people, and we talked about this before, when a lot of people are on one side, it generally, doesn't always go that way. A lot of people on the under 1.5 here. And sure, we've seen a lot of under 1.5s from Cutelaba. Lynn's himself has been finished by guys like Bozer. Got the knockout against Ovince St. Preux, which I called the round 1 knockout there. I really felt like Ovince St. Preux was way over the hill. He's fighting also these guys who necessarily aren't like finishers, but also tough guys to be finished, like Prokniau, also Grishin. I kind of like a over 1.5 here, man. I think both guys could use some, Lynn's could use the cage pushing, especially the later the fight goes. I wouldn't be too interested in taking like a fight goes the distance, even though we've seen that with like Jacoby, who's a pretty good striker himself, and also Devin Clark, who, is okay. So if anything, I'd be looking at over 1.5 here, but for me, I'm just going to pass on this one and enjoy the debauchery.
Yeah, I could honestly see anything. I could see Lynn's winning a decision, Cutelaba gasses out. I could also see Cutelaba winning a decision Devin Clark style, where like he just wins all the wrestling exchanges. Cutelaba's a good wrestler, man. So I don't really know if Lynn's is just going to be able to grapple this dude. The reason why Lynn's has won a lot of these fights recently, and shout out to my man Muddy because he messaged me about this as well. He's saying that a lot of the reason why Lynn's has won these recent fights is because he's been able to grapple these dudes and take them down and cage push. But he's not necessarily going to be able to do that against Cutelaba. Even when Cutelaba's gassed, he's still strong in that clinch. He's still got awkward throws. He's still got good trip takedowns. So I don't really know if like Lynn's is even going to win the later rounds, even if Cutelaba starts to gas out a little bit. So a lot of people banking on fading the early round 1 Cutelaba and thinking instantly that means Lynn's wins. I don't even agree with that. I do think that Cutelaba has some decision upside in this fight. So, I mean, what's that paying? I don't even know. But yeah, man, like
I think it's plus that. I think I looked at it. I think I looked at it before. It was like plus 1,000.
Woo! Plus 1,000, you say? That might have to be a little fun bankroll play for me. Not that I expect it to happen.
I could be wrong, but maybe it's like around plus 800, but I believe it's plus 1,000.
I'm getting out right now. So on this one book I have is plus 600. Maybe it got a hit a little bit, but that doesn't like with these props, man, they vary massively. You get plus 600 on one, plus 1,000 on another book, same prop. So anyway, man, we've managed to speak about this so much, even though we both don't really have a read, which is just really funny. But yeah, man, moving on. What we got next, and I'm gonna address some of the chat. Hey, but like, everyone's talking about. What's that?
This guy said, being professional bettors, do you have any favorite fighters? I don't. You got to kind of learn I'll bet against my grandma, bro.
Yeah.
That's it. If there's value, there's value.
If the odds are good. If there's value, yeah, there's value. I definitely have favorite fighters, man. I like Amanda Lemos. I like Alexander Volkanovski. I like, who I love? My new favorite fighter, bro. Trust me, this guy's going to be a star. Let's keep it hush because I don't want this guy to be -500 every fight. But Peyton Talbot coming out of the Contender Series. Let me tell you something about my boy now. I know a fighter when I see one. I trust my eyes. Peyton Talbot is that guy. Shout out to my man Liam. You already know Liam was the one who put us together, so definitely shout out to Liam at all times. 2 GOATs. Liam is the 3rd GOAT right there. So yeah, moving on. Bill Algeo versus Alexander Hernandez. Damn, we got another main event. I like Alexander Hernandez's side here. I bet him as an underdog. And instantly, as soon as I bet him as an underdog, the guy moved to a favorite. He's a favorite now. No surprise. That happens a lot. But I honestly think that he's got some advantages in this spot. I think that he's going to win round 1 at a good clip. I think that he potentially could get a knockout in round 1. I don't think it's going to happen because I think Algeo is very tough. But I don't think it's impossible. Algeo definitely gets hit a lot. And then on top of that, round 2 and round 3. So like, if I think he's going to win round 1, I'm 1 round head start going into the next 2 rounds. That alone is like a good bet, right? And then I don't think Alexander Hernandez is like the biggest gasser of all time. I don't think he is. I know he's being portrayed to be that, but I don't think he is. I will say that he definitely could break in this fight, but Algeo does not have the pressure or pace that Billy Quarantillo does have. He has nowhere near of it, actually. Also, he doesn't have the dominant grappling skill set that Renato Moicano has. He also doesn't have the insane power, pace, and durability that Drew Dober has. So I honestly think that if it gets out of round 1, it's going to be kind of a tit-for-tat type fight in round 2 and round 3. So if that's the case, I'm betting on the guy who's going to win round 1. I also think that Alexander Hernandez can get takedowns whenever he wants. He's a very good takedown artist, Alexander Hernandez. He's very underrated in the wrestling. And I think he can get takedowns whenever he wants. Now, will Bill get up? I do think Bill's going to get up. But the takedowns could seal the deal. You know, if he gets 2 takedowns in round 2 and the striking's fairly even, and one of the takedowns comes within the final 30 seconds, that could seal the deal. With all of this played into the pot, I like Alexander Hernandez as an underdog. I bet him there. We'll see what happens. What do you think, my man?
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of Algeo's striking. I think he throws a lot 1 at a time. Doesn't really have the crispest technique, in my opinion. I think, Alex could have success on the feet as well. And, if he's going to wrestle, I would say you kind of mentioned it. If he's going to do so, let's do it at the end of the round. If I was his coaches, that's what I would be saying, just to save the gas tank, just in case the weight cut, is a thing with the cardio. We did see him, not do so well. But that was against Billy Q, just like you said, who's a pace and pressure fighter. He could, break somebody. And, oh, man, if Alex Hernandez is able to really make this 145 weight class, he could be a problem, man. And I think, just him being at the 145 weight class and coming back just shows you that he's still in it to be the best of the best. And he kind of was always like that, a little brash, kind of confident. But, this guy wanted to be champion, still wants to be champion. And I think, he sees a path at 145 with, a little bit less of a Shark Tank of a division. Give me, I don't really have a great read on this fight. I liked Hernandez at that line. I still kind of like him to win the fight. Obviously, there's some sharp money coming in. You hinted at that. But, yeah, I don't have a bet on this fight yet. I think Hernandez is the side. I got to see it. This is one of those, just show me. This is one of those show me spots. Can you make 145? Can you be the guy that I know you can be? I might miss out on the value here, but I just want to see it first. And I got to go grab my charger, bro. Go ahead, break down the next fight, talk about this one. I will be right back.
All right, say no more. Jewish Bet is coming back. And the last thing I'll say about the Hernandez spot is I think he's 80% to win the first round, 80-20, something like that, 75-25, whatever you want to do. I think the second round drops drastically, but I still think it's 50-50. I still think it's 55% Hernandez. I truly do, because I don't think he's going to gas as bad as he's done in some other fights, because I don't rate Algeo as that type of fighter to bring it out of him until round 3. So I still think 50-50, if not 55-45 in round 2. And then round 3, and by the way, the 80-20 includes some knockout equity as well. And then round 3, I think it's probably maybe 60-40 Bill. 65-35 bill, something like that. So if you add all of those up, you will see that Alexander Hernandez should be like minus 150 around that. So yeah, man. Look, I understand he could lose the second and third round and he gasses out the third round. He loses 29-28, but I don't know, man. If Alexander Hernandez loses and if he gasses and gets finished in this one, then yeah, it's definitely a spot where I'm like, all right, I'm going to need to jump off the Alex train. But I've never really bet Alex and lost before. I have bet Alex and lost before, but I don't bet Alex every fight. I'm not this type of fight because Alex is a very popular MMA bet, right? Lots of people love betting on Alexander Hernandez. I'm not that type of guy, but I am betting him here. So we'll see what happens, man. Next fight, Drew Dober, Ricky Glenn, someone who destroyed Alexander Hernandez as a massive underdog back in the day. And actually, funnily enough, that was the fight that kind of put him on the map as somebody to be reckoned with. And I think he went on a great streak after that, and maybe even prior to that, a couple of fights. But it's funny because, as I was saying, Alexander Hernandez is a very popular MMA bet every time he fights. And that was shown in the Drew Dober fight because Drew Dober was like plus 300 in that spot. In this fight, yeah, he should get the knockout, but I'm not at all confident in like minus 500 Drew Dober. But I do think he's going to get a knockout. This is a boring fight to break down, in my opinion. What have you got anything to say about this one? Because I don't have much to say about this one, bro. I'm predicting Dober knockout round 2, round 3.
Sweet. I'll be really quick with it. I think Dober points is a possibility. I think, he could fight for the finish. I think this line is way off, man. I know Ricky Glenn's really slowing down. I do see a lot of advantages for Drew Dober. He has good takedown defense, but the reason I bet Frivola against him, and I said he could get a knockout early and just in general in that fight, because everyone's saying the chin of Dober is great, but I thought it was possible and it happened. But I thought he could get top control and wrestle because Dober just doesn't really get back to the feet once he's on his back. But other than that, good takedown defense. The only time I really ever seen Ricky Glenn have great grappling success was against Gavin Tucker, who's a pretty decent wrestler himself. But I just don't see it here. I'm going to go with Drew Dober. I do think he eventually cracks the chin, but for some reason in my gut, just tells me this fight could be a little bit closer with both these guys being 34. Out of all the top 3 fights that people are most likely going to be parlaying the favorites, it just seems like the one that could be a weird one because nobody sees Ricky Glenn really winning. Whereas in the other 2, I feel like people are giving the other person at least a shot. So, yeah, that's my breakdown on the fight. I think Glenn is a live underdog, but I'm going to be going with Drew Dober, who I've had a pretty good read on in the past. So I'm saying this fight's going to be a little bit closer. I've cashed a lot of big bets on Drew Dober fights, against him, for him, unders, overs. I think this fight's going to be a little bit closer than people think. If he gets starts in round 1, call me an idiot.
And actually, one of the things that everybody should listen to, or everybody should be aware of when they're listening to people like us break down and any other MMA gamblers on their YouTube channel, sometimes, and it's the same for me as well, we have a very good read on a certain fighter, right? So like there's certain, like Beneil Dariush, I think I've bet on like 6 of his fights and I'm like 5-1, right? And there's other fighters who have won me a lot, like Jasmine Jasudavicius. I think I've bet on 5 of her fights and I'm like 4-1, and every single fight I had some type of value, right? So if Drew is saying that Drew is the type of fighter that he is very good at gambling on, then you should listen to his breakdown because he probably knows what he's talking about. And actually, a lot of people watching this will watch loads of other MMA podcast shows as well, right? So if somebody has a very good read on the same fighter over and over again, no matter who it is, even if they're not winning gamblers, they might just have a very good read on one fighter. Then you watching this now, you can use that to your advantage. Anytime you're watching these podcasts every week, obviously you have to go back and verify it. If they're saying, like, if Drew is saying that he's got a good read on one fighter, you have to go back and verify whether that's true. Don't just listen to people what they say, because sometimes I forget on the bets I've had and lost and won. But go back and look at their record. And if that is the case where they've bet on this fighter and they've won like every bet, then just listen to their breakdown a little bit more than you listen to anybody else's, even if the other people are better gamblers, because we can't be a better gambler on every single fight, right? So that's just another jewel that people can use when they're listening to these YouTube breakdowns that me and everybody else in the community does. So yeah, man, the next fight is Alex Morono versus Joaquin Buckley, and this is a very good fight. This is another main event, because I feel like a lot of people are torn on this fight. I'm definitely on the Buckley side. I think Morono's going to be winning the fight until he's not, but I think Buckley's going to catch him. I think Buckley's going to get around 2 or 3 knockout. I think it's going to take some time for Buckley to figure out the awkwardness of Alex Morono, but when it happens, I think it's going to happen hard, and I think it's going to happen brutally. And I think Buckley's going to land heavy shots, and it might be a one-punch knockout, brutal one, or it might be like he catches him, and you're like, damn, that was a heavy shot, and he catches him again, you're like, damn, the tide is turning. Alex Morono keeps getting caught like he did in that Ponzinibbio fight, kept getting caught by the same shot, the same right hand, until he got knocked out from it. It could go either way, but I do think it's going to end in a Joaquin Buckley knockout in the later rounds, over 1.5 rounds knockout. So that's my breakdown. Jew, what are you saying?
Yeah. Now, I got to be honest with you guys. I haven't had the best, reads on Alex Morono because I consistently underestimate the guy. I'll be honest. I took Tim Means in the last fight. I was feeling good about that until dude got guillotined. And, I'm not the highest on Means either. I just really don't rate the skills of Morono being that high. I think the best win he really had was against Cowboy Cerrone. But that one was the one that, really showed us that Cowboy's washed, bro. He got finished by this guy who lost to Pettis. That was really the downfall of Cerrone. But, kudos to Alex Morono. He's gotten some good wins since. He was doing great in the Ponzinibbio fight on short notice until getting, eventually knocked out. I just think, mainly he's a boxer. On the other end, I really like what I see from Joaquin Buckley on the striking. And I've been trying to do a lot of more striking lately, sparring, stuff like that, watching instructionals on the striking. And I think Buckley knows what the fuck he's doing, man. This guy goes to the body well. He jabs up top well, throws low kicks, throws kicks up high, has dynamic kicks. We saw in the Impa Kasaganai fight. Now learning to mix in his wrestling as well, which I could see, working here against a guy like Morono who, is going for guillotines in his fight. What happens when that guillotine doesn't work and, Buckley winds up on top? He's a pretty athletic guy. So generally, I really see a Buckley finish here. I think he finds him. And I just think he's more athletic, and I'm going to go with the athleticism advantage here. I think from what I'm seeing, Morono's a pretty popular underdog this week. I looked at the handles, and I know those aren't always the most accurate, but something like 74% of the money on Morono, and I see a lot of cappers when I look at Bet MMA tips, a lot more on the Morono side as the underdog, which always raises my eye. Even though the lines moved a little bit back and forth, but I think Buckley's more like a -220, -230 favorite here. I'll be taking him inside the distance most likely by the time tomorrow. I'm going to be driving to the casino to the sports book. I'll be getting a Buckley bet, probably money line or inside the distance by knockout. I think it's going to get done.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Like, if you go back to Alex, I don't want to underrate Alex Morono because I always underrate the guy. Like you said you do. I do as well. And I think a lot of people do. He's not athletic at all. He doesn't look pretty when he strikes. I've been striking for a long time. And when I look at him striking, I don't like it. But I know what I'm looking at, but I still don't like it. But it's effective. It is effective. And, you get people like that all the time where they're awkward. They don't look good. They don't throw the way you should throw. They don't defend the way you should defend. Their feet are not in the right position, but it works for them. It is what it is. So that is what Alex Morono is. But if we actually go deeper into his record, and like I said, I don't want to keep underestimating him. Maybe I'm doing it again. I do it all the time. But Cowboy Cerrone, washed as F. He looked great against Ponzinibbio, washed as F. Submitted Tim Means, was getting beat. Tim Means is washed as well. I know he just beat Fialho. Tim Means is washed, right? Yeah, look, he's a good fighter. Still good. But these are old guys, man. These are old guys. The Semmelsberger fight, yeah, he looked good in that fight, but he definitely almost got knocked out in round 3. You know what I mean? He almost got finished in that fight. So I don't know, man. Like, I think this is the fight where he comes up against someone young, hungry, in their prime, very athletic, and just a lot more finishing equity in my eyes. So yeah, I'm going with Buckley. We're both going with Buckley. We're both going with the KO. We'll see how it is.
Can I answer a quick question?
Yes.
Well, go ahead. This guy asked me the instructionals real quick. I like Eric Nixick. He has one out. It's like cage control for MMA. pretty good one. Trevor Whitman, I like a lot of his stuff. And there's a Russian guy. His name is slipping me right now, but I like his striking instructionals as well. But you got dynamicstriking.com. There's some pretty cheap ones on there, and you can find ways to get one. If you're just in the martial arts world, just ask a friend, right? That's what I do. So,
yeah, thanks for that. And Steiny's saying Rich Silky Curtains versus Ghetto Anxious Brick. Brother, that doesn't mean anything, right? Because you already know we came from the bricks and now we're in the Silky Curtains. So, if I was making this video 5-10 years ago, you wouldn't listen to me. So you already know, man, you can't judge a book by its cover at all.
Like, dude, I'm not trying to brag, but I live in like one of the nicest neighborhoods in America, bro. It's just a fucking brick wall.
Yeah, he's just in the chimney, bro. It don't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? That was a funny comment. It does look like he's in a bit of a chimney. I'm not gonna lie, but still. All right, bro. Moving on now. Joe Pyfer versus Alhassan. Two fighters that get early round one knockouts. What could go wrong at minus 450, right? The guy's never proven. This guy's not proven at all, but I do think he wins this fight. I went on Big Steve's podcast yesterday. Shout out to Big Steve, and quite a few of the panel there, Pepe and Chad and Steve, they basically all agreed with me. We all agreed together that Pyfer's probably going to go to the grappling in this spot more than we've seen recently. He trains with very good grapplers, and I know you'll love that gym that Pyfer trains at with all those sharks on the mat. And he also does a lot of grappling competitions. I think he actually beat GM3 in a grappling competition after he knocked him out. And he's been doing grappling competitions, for many years. And so I do think that he has an underrated skill set on the ground just because we haven't seen it before. Doesn't mean it's not there. Plus 700 for the submission is not bad. I tend to think it's going to be a TKO, positional TKO, though. I just have a feeling that he likes to unload ground and pound. He likes to throw his hands. And I think Alhassan's submission defense isn't bad, but I think he can gas out and just get caught on bottom. And the referee will stop it, mercy stoppage. Whereas he might not tap out to a submission, right? Or he might just wriggle out or athleticism out of every tight position if Pyfer was able to get the submission. But yeah, man, I think Pyfer's going to win the fight. I think there's value on Alhassan. I think Pyfer's line is wide. I don't think he should be minus 500, but I still think he gets a finish probably in round one, actually. Late round one or maybe middle round two. So I'm going with Pyfer. I think both of those lines are decent. Alhassan money line, I'm not playing it though. And Joe Pyfer submission, I might play it, not sure. What are you saying, Jewish?
Yeah, man. I just don't see Dana White wanting Joe Pyfer to lose this fight whatsoever. Like, this is their guy, right? So at the end of the day, they're trying to give him. Yeah.
He's been talking shit about the UFC, which I saw, and I was like, why is this guy talking shit about the UFC? They've given you everything. They've put everything on a plate for you to be a star.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, right. He's saying I'm not going to fight the top 15. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I saw, and I didn't watch the whole interview, but I saw he was saying that he's not going to fight anybody in the top 15 unless they give him mega money and stuff like that. And I was just thinking, brother, they've made you somewhat of a star. They're giving you kind of layups for your style. Just relax a little bit, but each to their own, man.
Yeah, man. The thing I really like about Pyfer, and this is the only thing I'm going to say, is I'm not going to bet on the 38-year-old here. Although I do agree with you that the line is wide. I think he's live. Books are kind of begging you. They're dropping the line, right? We all saw that they dropped the line, right? So it's either sharp money's coming in on Alhassan or some type of money's coming in on Alhassan, or the books are just begging you to parlay, and that kind of just lights my eyes up. But on film, more often than not, I like the range management of Pyfer. He's always just right in that range there. He can get his jab off. And I think he uses that as the base of his game. We're going to see that a lot more in the future, just like in boxing when guys use their jab. That's the main weapon, right? That's the main thing to find. He's going to use his jab, though, to set up the takedown in this situation. And I think he's going to cut off the cage and eventually find him. This should be in the smaller octagon, if I'm not mistaken. So that's good if he wants to grapple and get closer to him. Sub, not a bad look. I generally think it tends to be a knockout more often than not, though. And that's just what I'm seeing in my head. Been trusting my gut lately. Really been doing a lot of studying as well. Giving my life to the game. I know you feel the same as well. Let's go. Lucrative banger. I think Pyfer gets the knockout, though, here. Sub is a great look, though. And I do agree he has the ability on the mat and the coaching to do so.
It's going to be so annoying when he just gets that positional TKO after locking in a dash choke, but my man's just, or after locking in a head and arm, and my man's just so tough, so athletic, he just rolls out of it or something crazy like that, man. I could definitely see it happening where he gets the positional TKO, but he's had the sub locked in, and we're just like, no, man, like we got that 700, because sub is about plus 700, but, you know. Someone asked me what my EPL team is, and brother, that means English Premier League, right? We don't support these Premier League teams, yeah? My team is Millwall. We're in League One at the moment, which is the league below Premier League. A real team from my neighborhood, a proper team, you know? We don't support the best team just because they're the best, you know? We support our hometown team. I was raised on that team. My dad supported it. Granddad supported it. I'm known around that team. So Millwall is my team. If you don't know about Millwall, you can Google them. You'll find a lot out about us. But I don't watch football too much anymore, man. It's a bit tough when I'm on the road and I'm living in a completely different country because all of the matches are on at like 3, 4 a.m. where I live. So yeah, it's a bit tough for me to keep up with everything, but I always wish them the best. So the next fight is the main event. We finally got onto the main event, and this is a good fight because we've got a old school classic UFC matchup where we've got a grappler, pure grappler, versus a striker, pure striker. I think that the pure grappler is going to win this one. I don't think the line is that wide. We've said the line is wide in a lot of these fights, man. We've said the Dober line could potentially be wide. We've said that the Pyfer line is wide. We've said that the Mendonca line is wide. I've said that at least anyway, but I don't think the line is much wide here. What does a Bobby Green win look like to me? Grant Dawson gasses out. I don't really see him winning.
I think a knockout.
Yeah, like it could be a knockout for sure. But like if it goes 5, right? Like, yeah, I mean, he could definitely get an early knockout for sure. But if it goes 5, what does it look like? He has to let Grant Dawson gas out like the middle of round 3 and he wins round 3, 4, and 5 or something weird like that. I'm not going to go in depth on why I think Grant Dawson's going to be able to get the back control or, on top position. I'm not going to go in depth on all of the stylistics, man. I think there's many podcasts that will do that. What I'm going to say is keep it short and sweet, like I said at the start of the podcast. The under 4.5 rounds is about minus 230 right now. This fight's not going 5 rounds, guys. I really do not see this fight going 5 rounds. I know it's scary to back minus 200 chalks, but I just don't see this fight going 5 rounds. I think Grant Dawson's going to finish him on the mat. But I also think that he could get finished on the feet, just like Jewish Better said. So I think the under 4.5 round is a very good spot in this one, guys. What I will say as well is that Grant Dawson KO plus 550. I'll have a bit of that, son. I don't mind that because I think that he's going to get the positions he needs on the mat. I've also seen him unleash heavy ground and pound. He unleashed a good amount of ground and pound versus Damir Ismagulov. He unleashed hellacious ground and pound versus Leonardo Santos. I think he's going to do it again. I think the plus 550 is going to look plus 150, but maybe the sub looks minus 150. I don't know. But Green has good sub defense, man. So, yeah, I like the TKO and I like the under 4.5 rounds myself. Jewish Better, wrap this podcast up, bro.
Yeah, so you said, a lot of people go into the technical breakdowns of the, how he's going to get the back or whatever, but I really don't think a lot of people do go into that. Maybe some people did, but I will go into it a little bit. I think he has, 2 options here, and both suck because Grant Dawson's going to give him, basically a binary choice. It's going to be either to, capitulate to his back, go to his back and succumb eventually to the top pressure of Grant Dawson, or give up his back to try and attempt to get back to his feet, which he generally does versus these guys in a lot of his fights, where he's getting taken down, lifted in the air by Francisco Trinaldo in round 1, where he was slammed. We've seen Grant Dawson do that slam takedown before, but he puts the guy down gently to the mat because he's smart. He's a black belt level grappler. Man, I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is black belt versus blue belt here, in my humble opinion. Once he gets this fight to the ground, he's going to give him the option. If Green goes to post on the elbow, it's going to be Dagestani handcuff all day. And that's where he's just going to go ground and pound on him. But I think generally, Green's going to try to give up the back. But the thing is, he's going to go eventually either flat, like he did versus Islam Makhachev, or he's going to get mounted. Grant Dawson's going to ground and pound him. And either he gets choked or he gets knocked out. I tend to lean a knockout, but I did bet the minus 150 for the fight, Grant Dawson to win. I think the under 4.5 is probably a little bit of the sharper bet, right? Just to add in those options for the little extra value. I just think it's Dawson here, man. I think he's so much better at the wrestling, and I don't think Bobby Green's really a power puncher, and I don't think Dawson's a complete fish on the feet either. He's getting a lot better. He's the younger fighter, and Greens tend to slow down. Those reflexes go as you get older. He's a hands-down head movement type fighter, heavy on the lead leg. Dawson from ATT, gonna chop that leg up, and that's a path to KO as well. So, you know, man, I really think Dawson gets a finish here. A 5-round decision, don't do anything for him here, in my humble opinion. It just furthers the narrative for the UFC that this guy is boring, which, people say about him as is. I think Green gets a little bit of love at the betting window at that plus number, and we cash as the sharp bettors here. I love your under 4.5 play. I think that's a sharp play. I'm going to just go with the Dawson. I already put, about 1.1 units on him just to win about 0.7 back or something like that. Just that minus 145. I think this is good money here, man. Dawson, way higher level. On the ground, easy money here. Easy.
Yeah, I like it, man.
Hey,
I like it.
Last thing I'm going to say, I think I might take a stab on the Pyfer sub, Dawson KO. Just throw like a little something while I'm at the casino. Have a drink. That's a good one.
Bro, that's going to pay for a lot of drinks if that hits. You're talking plus 700 and plus 500. That's good to me, man. That's a little fun degenerate parlay. I like to do a couple of degenerate parlays every week. And, I got the Elite Zone section on my website. I don't know how familiar you are, but I got a section where I give my picks, but then I also have a better section where I give full card breakdowns, every single fight, Bellator, PFL, UFC, everything. I've got all 15 Bellator 300 fights broken down in full 2 days ago on my website. And I also have like a section where we do degenerate parlays. I might add that as a DGM parlay because we've been smashing them lately. We've won like 5 out of the last 6 weeks at like plus 1,000. And I might add that one. Pyfer sub, Grant Dawson TKO, plus, what's that? Plus 5. That's going to be plus 5,000 or something like that. I don't even know what it's going to be, but it's going to be huge. So yeah, man, maybe I'll jump on that with you. I don't know, but
that's a lucrative banger right there.
Banger. You already know. Man, thanks for being on. I appreciate it. I was going to do this alone, but I've had more fun doing it with you, and we've done it fast, which is good. So just over an hour, so not too bad. I'm going to go and eat some food now. I'm going to be walking around this marina, and there's a lot of nice restaurants. So hopefully some of these fighters on the weekend can pay for this meal I'm about to buy. And if not, it is all good. We live to fight another day. Like I say, you can't judge anybody on a 1 week, a 2 week, a 3 week basis. This is a long-term game. I've been betting for 15 years. I get people messaging me after we lose 2 weeks in a row, like, damn, man, I've lost 2 weeks. Like, what do you think? Should I adjust the strategy? Is this just a random period for you? Like, oh my God, you're the worst gambler ever, or whatever it is. And I'm like, brother, I've been betting for 15 years, man. Betting pays for my life right now. You know how long it didn't pay for my life? 13 years. It's only paid fully for my life in the last 3 years or so, man. So you have to have some patience. And I don't want to go off on too much of a rant, but what I'm trying to say is if we don't win this weekend, we're going to get them next week. It is what it is. We keep our bankroll management tight. We keep our mentality solid. We don't turn into emotional women when we lose 1 or 2 bets. We stay solid mentally, and we live to fight another day, man. And nothing against women. They're just a lot more emotional than men. So, that's why I said that. And yeah, man, shout out to all my women, shout out to all my ladies, and shout out to all my men listening. So shout out to Lucrative and shout out to Jewish Better as well, because I appreciate you for being on. If there's anything you want to shout out, like your channel, whatever it is, I don't think you have your own channel, but you're always ripping and running on a podcast, and you have your own Twitter and you do spaces. So please shout out anything you need to, bro, before we go.
Yeah, I'm all over. I have a shout out that I do want to make, and you kind of mentioned it as well. Lucrative MMA. This guy's doing his damn thing. What do we say? 17 out of the last 21 events, winning profit, good ROI, track record, and just listen to the guy. He's sharp. That's another thing. You got to listen to these people and hear for yourself. Do the research yourself. But if you come through to this guy, you're in good hands, especially for the regional scene as well. Not everybody's doing the regional scene, so a little bit different. I think this guy is high level when it comes to the MMA capping. And man, you can lose 6 weeks in a row. Not saying that you're going to, or I want you to, or I want myself to, but man, people got to see long-term results, not short-term. I agree with that 100%. But when it comes to short-term, in my gut of guts, my Jewish intestinal lining that is so weak, I feel it. I feel it in my heart of hearts. We're going to get this cash this week. Let's go.
All right. Say no more, man. And the guy, the guy's got a good Twitter presence. He does spaces. So go and follow him on Twitter at The Jewish Better, I think it is. And that's it, man. We'll be back next week with another. I'm trying to do this every week, but I've been traveling a lot over the last 6 weeks. I've been flying all over the place. So, and you'll see a lot of that on my vlog channel soon. Like I mentioned, anybody watching now, if you want to see my vlog channel, type in Gambler JB at Gambler JB on YouTube, and I'm branching off and doing some vlog stuff. So hopefully people like that. But yeah, man, we'll be back next week as I always try to do. Until then, maintain the right mindset and let's bash these bookies. See you on the next one.